I was frying an egg when a twin-engine Cessna thundered 30 feet above my roof, breaking my Sunday slice and almost putting my chickens into cardiac arrest. The yolk splashed on the stove while I ducked. My coffee went flying off the table as if it was trying to get away too. Barefoot, I rushed outside, blinking in the sun, and saw the plain bank gliding indolently over my land, cruising like a self-satisfied buzzard with landing gear. I reside in a country valley 30 acres that I inherited from my late granddad, who'd remarked that this is your castle, your skies, your crown, no airports, helipads, or landing zones around, just peaceful. Yet someone was using my crown as their runway. The following 2 days were ridiculous planes flying at strange hours. My neighbor's cows broke a fence during a low flyby. Old man Jasper's greenhouse shattered due to debris off of a mystery dirt. Runway at the farmer's market, rumor blew new HOA project, someone mentioned in hushed tones over tomatoes. Swift flights for urbanites enhance property value. Others complained about unwelcome meetings, unvote taxes, and out-of-town HOA brass, making our valley their sandbox. Then it struck me, I'd noticed building along my South Creek bed. I thought it was road construction, but it hollered runway. Now that afternoon I drove my fence line, where my property abutted the overpriced cul-de-sac fancy shrubs and blinking watchtower signs there. It was a heavy-duty bulldozer flattening gravel. A sign saying, "Welcome to Oak Ridge Community Airstrip, grand opening in progress." Flimsy hangars, runway stakes, all pointing directly over my property. I strode up to a workman in khakis who authorized this. He blinked the HOA. "Marilyn Pierce, speak with her." Marilyn Pierce, her name roiled my stomach. She'd rolled in from Oregon a year earlier. HOA president with a dictator's vibe, banning solar panels for aesthetic pollution, finding flags, installing cameras, feeding her iPad. This airstrip was her latest ego trip hours. Later I found her sipping sparkling water on the HOA clubhouse patio. A budget supervillain. "Your planes are flying over my land," I said, skipping pleasantries. She didn't look up from her tablet. "The airstrip's a community enhancement within our jurisdiction." "No, it's over my property," I snapped. She squinted through designer shades. "You can't own the sky." I smiled. "Oh yes, I might. Rural deeds, such as mine, particularly old ones, are airspace rights to 500 feet here." I knew this cold. I've been an FAA regulatory consultant prior to retirement, along with my grandfather's ecological clause, made our land a low-altitude, no-fly zone for nesting falcons. I allowed Marilyn to ramble on about raising community profile and high-value buyers, then told her, "Enjoy your airstrip while it lasts that evening." I rummaged through my attic's file cabinet, deed copies, FAA forms, maps, Grandpa's zoning letters, all intact. I own the land and Sky Maryland's planes. Broke federal law daily, but I wouldn't just file papers. I'd make her feel the chaos she dumped on us. I sent the FAA a complaint: unauthorized aircraft trespassing on protected airspace over private land ongoing. The FAA, it doesn't mess around with unpermitted strips. Meanwhile, I rigged solar-powered motion cameras on my barn, logging every plane's GPS data, dates, times, altitudes, color-coded for kicks by week's end. I had a dossier to thrill an inspector. I crashed the HOA's investor preview, coffee and clipboard in hand past flimsy security. Marilyn pitched to aviators, shaded men gesturing at the runway, oblivious as I filmed the flight path goes over that open green space next door, and used land she boasted that, and used meadow was my grandmother's wildflower haven. The trap was set, her countdown, ticked post, pitch IMAIL. A notarized cease and aid on cream linen paper, velvet-wrapped steel referencing FAA infractions, and Title 49 airspace privileges sent to Marilyn and each board member. Her response: she strutted to my gate in tennis-white sunglasses at top her head and tossed a shred of letter her folded into a paper airplane. "This is America, planes fly, deal with it." She smirked, flicking it at me. I'd encountered entitled suits and dictators kin at the FAA, but HOA tyrants who think they're invincible win the cake. She just went up to my territory next morning. I flew my hobby drone, long-range, real-time telemetry mapping violations, with property overlays set to dramatic music for flair. I sent it to the FAA county zoning and an AVI watchdog group that gobbled it up 4 days later. Maryland received an FAA urgent notice, an inspection warning. A black SUV pulled in a woman in aviators and a blazer clipboard. Like a guillotine marched down to the Airstrip office. I sat glued with popcorn as she snapped pictures, talked into a Bluetooth, and nodded firmly. Marilyn showed up with heels and a fruit platter, fake pearls gleaming. No charm worked. The inspector walked off in mid-sentence as Marilyn preached. Shared skies reveals her taxiway, edged a wetland buffer for a rare frog. The FAA tipped the EPA and conservationists. Marilyn juggled 3 agency calls regarding permits and runoff. She doubled down low. Flying Cessnas rattled my barn, causing chicken chaos. I countered with legal high-frequency sound emitters angled to jam plane radios in my airspace. AirFA approved pilots aborted landings. I relish the stat I see. Maryland mailed in HOA crafted notice accusing me of obstructing community transit and economic development. I tacked it to my Maryland's Best Hits corkboard. The HOA attempted to claim my land through an imputed benefit. Clause unaware that I'd subdivided that border last year into a federal wildlife buffer. Untouchable, the county clerk laughed when they filed a reporter. Tessa Blake pitched a news segment. I avoided the camera but gave her my logs and filings. Her story. HOA Tri-Airport on Stolen Sky blasted Maryland as a regulation-blind dreamer. Residents swamped the HOA line. Angry their fees paid for this debacle. Maryland served a motion seizing a 50-foot stretch of my property for emergency air access. The same route her planes took, but I'd converted that stretch into a wildlife sanctuary under a trust her grab aimed at a conservation organization. Now I presented Tessa with a statement timeline. Infringements, wetland violations. Land grab tomorrow's headline. HOA declares war on frogs and residents. Marin increased flights. Ex-military. Pilots buzzed low, releasing Oak Ridge Air Experience leaflets. I bagged them up for the FAA and released weather balloons with radar reflectors, legal sentinels logging offenders, auto-reporting to enforcement. The HOA fined me $500 for a visual pollution. I framed it. They had no jurisdiction over me. Residents rebelled. Grounded oaks formed to dismantle the Airstrip and bore. Maryland's night crew cut a balloon tether. Sheriff Dawson nodded. Not her first rodeo. I compiled everything logs footage Marin's and used Space Clip and mailed it to a due contact. A week later, a federal injunction struck. Investigators descended, and the Airstrip came to a standstill at the grand opening. Tin's Champagne Quartet. Mar beamed in white, then an FAA chopper arrived flattening decor, an officer megaphone, the shutdown violations, trespass, no permits. Maryland froze, the live stream went viral. Karen's Flight Club was grounded. Mem's Sword News dug into. HOA mismanagement. Residents sued ex-treasurer Ellen Hart L., citing fund misuse and fraud. Leaked emails revealed Maryland referring to my land as dead space and avoiding paperwork. The FAA maintained my airspace. A plaque showed up. I received a habitat grant locking out. Future constructs. I had school children learning birds, releasing gliders off the old runway at a town hall. Maryland Synergy presentation bombed. Walt Grayson, a vet, called her the outsider. A vote removed her and dissolved the HOA. New leaders. Like Walt moved in on the Airstrip was bulldozed. I planted wildflowers. Maryland ran away. House sold sheep. My sign said Sky Haven, meadow shielded airspace and habitat. No landings. A month later, Marill sued. Balloons gave her distress. The judge dismissed it. You can't sue for trespassing. Sky, you don't own a documentary. Sky Siege of Oak Ridge. Broadcast. Walt stole the shell. A nonprofit teamed to enlarge the habitat. Children learned where Maryland failed on the shutdown's anniversary. I had a stargazing night, lemonade telescope, hawk kite flying. A teacher asked whether I missed Prios silence. No, I replied. I miss not knowing how loud arrogance is till it's grounded. My new sign glowed. Welcome to my sky, enjoy the view. Peace reigned worth every fight.